You're listening to How to Win with Mike Moore, the podcast that provides you with practical insights on how to win in every arena of life.
Hello, I'm Mike Moore, and welcome to the How to Win podcast. These podcasts are based off 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. It says, "Now thanks be unto God who always causes us to triumph in Christ." Welcome to the How to Win. We're in my leadership edition of the How to Win, and I am excited about you taking this journey with me. See, leadership is not a destination. It's not an event. It is a journey. So I want to thank you, and please tell somebody else and share these podcasts with other people so that we can grow and develop our leadership and operate on a high level. In our last episode, I began a new series entitled A Leadership Mentality. A Leadership Mentality. Now, the theme of this series, the theme that runs through the series is how successful leaders think. How successful leaders think. Now, I gave some introductory statements in our first episode, and two of those statements were this. Leadership effectiveness or ineffectiveness is a reflection of the leader's mindset, the leader's attitude, and the leader's beliefs. Your leadership, your effectiveness, and that's what you're after. You want to be an effective leader. But on the other hand, ineffectiveness in leadership is a reflection of the leader's mindset, how the leader thinks, attitude, and the leader's belief. This is consistent with Proverbs 23:7. It says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." The other major statement that I made in our first episode was this. Successful leaders are separated by one thing from unsuccessful leaders. Successful leaders are separated from unsuccessful leaders by one thing, and that is how they think. Now, this series is a very thorough series, and it has three parts. In part one, we're talking about foundation, foundational stones, the building blocks for how we should begin our leadership in relation to how we think. The second part two, we're talking about concepts, and you're going to really enjoy that. And then third, we're going to talk about attitude. And guess what? Attitude is very important in leadership. So in lesson one, we began part one, foundations, and we were talking about foundational stones or principles for successful leadership. And the first foundational stone in lesson one, we talked about a servant's mentality, a servant's mentality. Now, on this lesson, this second lesson, we're going to talk about a people-oriented mentality. A people-oriented mentality. Now, people matter. Say that. People matter. Say it one more time. People matter. Now, this is the key to having a people-oriented mentality. You must understand that people matter. Now, this foundational stone contrasts to a project mentality or a task-oriented mentality. Many leaders are task-oriented. They are project-oriented. But I'm not talking about that, because really that's putting the cart in front of the horse, as it were. We're talking about a people-oriented mentality. You see, leadership and leadership effectiveness is undeniably linked to people. Now that may seem like everybody know that, but listen, people matter. Come on, say that. People matter. Say it again. People matter. And that has to be a foundational stone in your leadership, a people oriented mentality. People matter on two different levels. People matter on a spiritual level. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian, I want to talk to you about this level. And then I want to talk to you, whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, about the second level. But people matter on a spiritual level. 1 John 4:20 in the New Living Translation, it says, if someone says, I love God, but I hate my fellow believer, that person is a liar. If we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? People matter on a spiritual level. If you're a Christian, if you're a believer, you have to get this down in your spirit that people matter to God. They matter to God. And if they matter to God, then people should matter to you. This text lets us know from a spiritual level now that the quality of our fellowship with God is measured in part by our ability to properly relate to people. Our fellowship with God is measured in part by our ability to properly relate to people. In other words, the text is saying you can't say that I'm close to God and I love God, but I don't care about people. I hate people. I did a series as a pastor many years ago entitled, I Love You, God, but it's people I can't stand. I love you, God, but it's people I cannot stand. Now, that's totally inconsistent with what the scripture says. It says that it's impossible to truly love God and to hate people or to not relate to people properly. That text tells us that our love for God is expressed in relationships among people. So people matter. Come on, say that. People matter. People matter. People matter to God. People should matter to you as a leader. Your fellowship with God will be measured in a large part by your ability to relate to people, because your love for God is expressed in how you relate to people. So people matter on a spiritual level. Now, if that's true and you're a Christian leader, then you should really study and meditate on and develop yourself in the area of relating to people. Well, maybe you're listening to me today. You say, well, you know, Mike, I'm not a Christian. I don't care about that God thing, and I don't believe in church and all that. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, people matter on a natural level. People should matter to you on a natural level. And I want to give you some facts that I discovered about the connection between your success, even though you're not a believer, your success and how you relate to people. Now, listen to these facts. The Stanford Research Institute says that the money you make in any endeavor, and I know you say, well, I don't care about God, don't care about the Bible, don't care about that. You care about money. I know that. You care about money. And the Stanford Research Institute says that the money you make in any endeavor, in other words, no matter what field that you're operating in, no matter what sphere of study, what sphere of activity, what arena you're functioning in, the money that you make is determined only by 12.5% knowledge and 87.5% by your ability to deal with people. The money you make is determined only by 12.5% by your knowledge and 87.5% by your ability to deal with people. So you can have all this knowledge, but if you don't relate properly to people, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. That's what they're saying. You're not going to make a whole lot of money. Okay, now listen at this. Another study reported that 60% to 80% of job dismissals, firings, are caused by social problems, are caused by people with poor people skills. 60 to 80% of job firings are caused by social problems, people who have bad people skills. Now, when asked, just giving you some facts, I want you to see a connection that people matters. When asked what one single characteristic is most needed by those in leadership positions, most chief executives of major corporations replied, the ability to work with people. Now think about that. Here is surveys taken by chief executives of major corporations, and they were asked, what is the one single characteristic most needed by people in leadership? And they said the ability to work with people. Teddy Roosevelt said, knowing how to get along with people is the single most important ingredient to the formula of success. That's consistent with something that John Maxwell, leadership expert, leadership guru, just an amazing leader, John Maxwell said this: an organization led by a leader who has no people skills will not reach its full potential. An organization led by a leader who has no people skills will not reach its full position, its full potential. He said, if you get along, they'll go along. He's saying that if the leader get along with the people, with the followers, with the team, then they will go along and help the leader fulfill the vision. So finally, I think it's safe to say that it doesn't matter how much technical knowledge you possess, your expertise level, your experience, if you have poor people skills, you will fail as a leader. Now listen at this. To focus on tasks or projects rather than people is an invitation to failure. Why? Because it is people that carry out tasks, and it is people that causes you to achieve and carry through projects. Think about that. People matter. And, I I've led a church and an organization for over 42 years. And I think that some of the mistakes that we make, and every leader and every organization is going to make some mistakes, it has been in this area of not valuing. We learned over time. So I'm not talking about the whole duration of the 42 years. But early, I think that we were really more interested in talent and experience, not understanding that talent and experience is not enough. I don't think that we elevated people skills to the place that it need. And we got hurt in some cases because we did not. People matter. And it matters that you have good people skills. So I want to give you some definitions of people skills. It took me years to realize this. And then when I realized it, I began to try to develop my people skills. You need, if you're going to be successful, you need to develop your people skills. You must, this is foundational. That's why I put it in this first part, foundational stone of successful leadership. A people-oriented mentality. You have to be thinking that people matter. And then if people matter, it should be one of your chief goals as a leader to develop your people skills. So what are people skills? What are people skills? I'm going to give you four definitions. And I want you to listen very carefully. This is so very important. So very important. One thing I learned is that I had a level of intelligence. I had a level of technical abilities. I had enthusiasm and commitment, but I didn't know the importance of people skills in others and in myself. And as I began to learn that, I began to work on my people skills. So if you have struggled in your organization, in your business, in your church, wherever you lead, if you found yourself struggling, and yet you know you have the skill, you know you have the experience, you know you've been trained, you know that maybe you're smarter than, and maybe you have greater expertise than many in your organization, yet maybe you struggle, and maybe it's because you fail or have not developed your people skills, and it's not too late for that. It's just not too late for that, because we need strong people skills in our families. We need strong people skills in school, in business. We just need strong people skills because people matter. Now, listen at this. What are people skills? I want to give you some definitions, and then I'm going to give you some areas you got to be thinking about. What are people skills? Number one, people skills are the ability to work with and through people. That's a simple definition. People skills are the ability to work with and through people. The ability to work with people, work with a team, and then the work through people. Number two, people skills are the judgment required to understand people and their motivational needs. It's judgment. People skills is the judgment to understand people. And to understand people, you have to be intentional. You have to watch them, listen to them, observe them, and then you want to discover their motivational needs. In other words, we're motivated by different things. And as a leader, you have to be in a position where you develop your judgment to understand the people. You want to understand your followers. You want to understand people that you're working with and you're working through. And then you want to observe what is motivating this person. Sometimes money may motivate one person, but most people are not motivated by money. I know you think they are, but most people are not motivated by money. Now, we all want money, but there are a lot of different things that motivate people, and you want to discover their motivational needs. Number 3, people skills has to do with how well we communicate and connect with people on a personal, emotional, and professional level. How well we connect with people, how well we communicate to people, how well do we communicate, and how well do we connect? Because communication is a key to connecting. How well do we communicate to people? How well do we connect to people on a personal level? Do you know how to communicate and connect to people on a personal level? On an emotional level, because we're emotional beings too, and then on a professional level. It takes some development to be able to navigate through these different things because people are different, but people matter. Now, listen, here's my final definition of what are people skills. People skills has to do with how well we can inspire people and teams to fulfill a mutual beneficial vision. How well you can inspire people, how well you can inspire a team of people to achieve mutually beneficial visions. Now, think about that. How well you can inspire. Now, John Maxwell, and I refer often to him, but John Maxwell says that there's a difference between a boss and an effective leader. There's a difference between a boss and an effective leader. He says that people follow a boss because they have to, but people follow an effective leader because they want to. Think about that. People need to follow you because they want to, not because you got this position, you got this title, you're going to determine how much they make on their job, you can fire them, you can promote them. No, you want them to follow you because they want to, not because they have to. And that's going to necessitate that you have good people skills. So I'm going to give you some examples, and then I want to close out by giving you what I call a major key to developing and improving your people skills. This issue of people skills is so broad, but that's all right. Leadership is not an event. It's not giving you a list. You got the list. You got this down. You go on. No. It involves self-awareness, self-evaluation, and then the work that it takes to develop yourself in an area. So I'm going to give you a list of people skills. Number 1, active listening. Active listening has to do with a good people skill. Active listening. I did a podcast called Great Leaders Have Big Ears. You ought to listen to that. It'll help you with your listening. Humility. Effective leaders have a humility about them. Nobody really. Now, we see proud leaders and we see leaders who think that they the best thing ever happened in the world and that kind of thing. But deep down inside, we're not motivated by arrogant leaders and motivated. Now, arrogant leaders like Adolf Hitler can motivate people, but it's not going to last. It's not going to last long. It's not going to last long. But humility is a quality. So that's an area you want to look at. Patience. Leaders have to be patient. You know, they have to give people time to grow, give people time to develop. Tolerance. Tolerance is another area because in every organization, every business, every ministry, every church, you have people with different personalities, different backgrounds. And tolerance is so very important. Empathy, the capacity to put yourself in the place of others, that's a people skill. Gratitude. Man, I want people that's grateful. When I'm giving my best, I want to follow a leader that's grateful. You know, professionalism / a strong work ethic. That's a people skill. Professional. You need to be professional at what you do. You need to have a strong work ethic. Oral and written communication. You can develop yourself as a communicator. You can develop your writing skills, but you have to be intentional about it. You know, as a pastor, I was a young pastor, and I had a member that came up to me one time, and this member really loved me, and she said, Pastor Mike, you can talk better than you talk. Now, she wasn't being critical, but it was constructive criticism. You know, I major on communication. In other words, I speak several languages. I speak in English, and I'm working on that. And then I speak in Ebonics. Sometimes I throw a little colloquial expressions out there, and then I speak with other tongues. So I'm very fluent in 3 different levels. And what this person was saying that you can speak better than you speak. I mean, subjects and verbs going all over the place. Now I agree, and sometimes they don't agree today. But at the same time, I want it to be better. Okay, I want it to be better. And you said, well, you still need some work. Well, I do. I do need some work, but I'm much better than I was. So I went to a junior college. I enrolled in a junior college after this person said this, and I took a English class. Want to try to get them subjects and verbs to agree a little bit. I literally took an English class. So you got to be intentional now. You can get better. Flexibility and open-mindedness. Flexibility / open-mindedness is a people skill. Teamwork / collaboration is a people skill. Persuasion, which has to do with motivating and inspiring people to do something. You can work on that. Problem-solving ability. Every ministry, business, organization is going to have problems, and you should develop your capacity to solve problems. Conflict resolution. Conflict is inevitable. Good manners. Just being kind is a people skill. Say thank you to people. I appreciate. Say please. Will you please? Good manners. People are attracted. The scripture said the attractiveness of a man, I think that's Proverbs 19, the attractiveness of a man is his kindness. Good manners is a people skill. Trust is a people skill. Empowerment is a people skill. As I gave you this list, go back, look at it. What areas do you need to work on? Because people matter. I want to close by giving you what I call a major key to developing and improving your people skills. A major key to developing and improving your people skills. A major key. When I look at this list, and this was not an exhaustive list, everything from active listening to empowerment. This is a broad list, not exhaustive, but a broad list. Then we see to develop ourselves and our people skills, it's going to require some work, some self-awareness, self-evaluation, and then you're going to have to target certain areas that you want to develop. Now, I think that there's a major key that underlines your attempt to develop and or improve your people skills, and that is an intentional, this is the major key, an intentional commitment to make people feel valued and valuable. I think if you're going to be motivated to develop your people skills, you must possess an intentional commitment to make people feel valued and valuable. Or simply put, make other people feel important. That should be the underlining motivation, the underlining driving force in developing your people skills to make others feel important. If that's the foundation, making others feel valued, valuable, making others feel important, that's what you should be motivated by. That's a major key that will fuel the energy to develop yourself in these areas. Why? I want to make people feel valued. You want to make people feel valuable. You want to make them feel important. That's the key to developing a people-oriented mentality. Now, this concludes this episode. In episode 1, we talked about a servant's mentality. This is foundational. In this episode, we talked about a people-oriented mentality. In our next episode, we're going to talk about a team mentality. I trust that you've been blessed. Listen, I look forward to seeing you next time on this journey of leadership.